What is VibraGenix and what do we do? We really help people heal with sound frequency medicine. This is very advanced sound frequency technology. So my name is Dr. Caroline Stites. This is my business partner, Dr. Carl Cadwell. You just met him a few minutes ago. This is my passion. It's my baby. It's my life's work. Carl made it buildable. He has 40 years of experience in manufacturing medical electronics, and I needed somebody like that in my corner to help me make this buildable. So we worked really well together, got this up and running, came out with an amazing device that can help a lot of people. So a little bit of my background for those that you don't know. I wasn't born into woo-woo. I was born into a very conservative Christian family that had doctors and farmers. And the women in my family and extended family were physicians. And so by the time I was 5 years old, I just wanted to be a doctor. That's all I ever wanted to be. Never changed my story. Most of the kids in the family and the grandkids and the cousins, they wanted to be a fireman, policeman. They just changed their story from, week to week or month to month. And I just never changed mine. And so by the time I was 12 years old, my aunt decided to put me to the litmus test. And she says, well, do you want to see a surgery? And I'm like, you bet. So she took me to observe my first surgery, which was a colon resection. And I think she thought this is a litmus test. Either she's going to want to be a doctor or not going to want to be a doctor after this. And I thought it was fascinating, absolutely fascinating. The section of the ascending colon was removed. You could see the cancer in there. And I thought it was amazing what you could do. And I just worshiped the field of medicine, traditional medicine. And I got to spend a lot of time with her in clinical practice, watching deliveries, all of these things, which I found were really amazing. And by the time, I grew really fast. I was the youngest of all the grandkids, and I got to be this size by the time I was 12, so it was easy to get me in to see things. But I started asking a lot of questions. It's like we only have these two modalities we were treating people with. It was either drugs or surgery, drugs or surgery. And I thought, there's got to be something else. So I asked my aunt, why don't we have other alternatives? And she said, these are the only tools we're given. So I kind of made a hard right, went to naturopathic medicine. I thought, okay, this is it. This is the thing that can really help people with the underlying cause of disease. But what I found was that I was in a situation where I was, giving out, I got a master's in nutrition as well, because nutrition is a really important part, but I was handing out handfuls of, herbals and homeopathics and vitamins. And sometimes people would have to take them 3 times a day, mess up their digestive tract because the body couldn't assimilate that much. So I thought there's got to be something else. So I started studying frequency medicine and I started studying energy medicine. So I studied Reiki first, became a Reiki master, then started studying for frequencies. And frequencies have been researched for so long. And I found a lot of frequency formulas that I started incorporating into my practice that, made a big difference in the patients. So that kind of led me into this world. And I got involved with sound frequency medicine machines about 20 years ago. It started in Korea with a company called Turbosonic. And I started working with them and opening North America for that company. So I've been deeply embedded in this industry for a long time. But it was importing. We couldn't control the quality of the product. We couldn't add any of our other frequency technology to it. So Carl said, why don't we build them? And that's how we ended up here. So what this is not your mama's shaker machine. Mechanical vibration actually goes back clear to the 1880s. There have been different people, including the inventor of Kellogg's, the cornflakes, that came up with some sort of mechanical plate through time. And this is, 1950s. It was a big rage with the belt. It would kind of shake you, kind of could throw off your back if you had any back issues. But mechanical vibration really hasn't evolved over the last 100 years. It's a vibratory plate. It's become, not a belt, but it hasn't gotten any improved over what it was before. It really got some strength and production when the Russian cosmonauts started using vibration plates in space to prevent bone and muscle loss, which was a really good thing. They could keep their cosmonauts up there 420 days as opposed to our 120 days without any bone and muscle loss. So it did help with that. But it hasn't evolved very much past that. And there's a huge difference between shaking the body, shaking the cells, and actually increasing the energy inside the cells which when you do that, your body will actually spontaneously start healing itself. So this is really, truly acoustic frequency therapy for the mind, body, and soul. And there's over 1,000 frequency formulas. Now, that doesn't make it too complex, because what you'll do is use the ones that are right for you. There's also scalar wave technology in here. There's a program for balancing the brain chemistry, which is really important. And there's the integration of Eastern medicine.
What was it about those frequencies that you felt could actually have an impact on the health of someone?
Well, my logical mind told me that if we are frequency and the energy system, why aren't we using that as the medicine to treat people? And I found numerous frequencies, 80 years worth of frequencies, and started implementing them into my practice. And it really made a huge difference. So it led me to the next step of finally creating the most comprehensive wellness system that there is.
Now, the VibraGenix machine, and I'm your biggest client, your biggest fan out there, because just standing in this unit, it changes your whole body.
Now, that was Dr. Mancini. And there's actually a podcast that we just recorded that got sent out today that we did yesterday with him. He's a huge believer in this. He was a huge believer in vibration for a long time, but this is a whole next level vibration. And you should watch that podcast. It's really, really good. So Nikola Tesla and Albert Einstein knew about vibration a long time ago, and its validity, but it's the type of vibration that makes a huge difference, because you can actually have some damaging effects from mechanical vibration. Now, the reason this works so well is because, number one, we are 70% water, and sound travels 5 times faster through water. So you're literally affecting every cell in your body, over 100 trillion of them, all at the same time. Another reason this is so effective is we integrate all of Rife's work. Dr. Royal Rife was kind of the father of frequency medicine. So in the 1930s, he actually started his research. He was funded by Bell Telephone and had 18 physicians working with him. And he actually built the world's first live virus microscopes. And these are actually really, really powerful. They can see tiny viruses, whereas most microscopes could only see bacteria, which are much larger, and only when they weren't alive. There's actually still one of these microscopes in the Smithsonian, if you're curious to look up anything on that. Another reason this works so well is that we are integrating Eastern medicine. Eastern medicine is really important. According to Eastern medicine, every disorder, dysfunction, and disease is caused by blocked energy in the body. That blocked energy is usually caused by trauma, and it can be mental, physical, or emotional trauma. And we have all been through so much of that, especially in the last 2.5 years. So clearing out any of those energy blocks, any of those energy centers is really important. This picture in the center here is actually your field. Most of people think about flesh and bone and blood and this being who we are, but our energy field extends way out past our body. And this is shown in quantum physics, that this toroidal field of energy that's constantly moving is going around every living thing. There's actually a second spiral of energy that connects us to source and to the earth. And for everything to be balanced and flowing and functioning perfectly well in the physical body, your energy centers have to be open. So if you have a blocked chakra, say your 6th chakra is blocked, and you don't have energy flowing properly through that area, it can lead to things, according to Chinese medicine, like brain tumors, all kinds of brain disorders. Heart chakra block can lead to heart disease and breast cancer. Solar plexus, having that block can lead to all kinds of intestinal problems, addictions, all kinds of disorders, even stomach and intestinal cancers. So keeping all of those energy centers clear is really important. Integrating this into this system was really important to me. The slides that you see on the right are before and after sonic vibration, after just 10 minutes. The slide at the top is what blood cells normally look like in a lot of people. They're very low in cellular voltage. When that happens, they kind of stick together in chains called the arugula effect. What happens then is they can't respirate properly. They don't have the surface area available to bring in more oxygen and nutrients, get rid of waste products. So this is one of the most powerful technologies I've ever witnessed for actually increasing the voltage in the cells. And if you get your cell voltage up to -70 to -90 millivolts, your body spontaneously heals. Otto Warburg actually won a Nobel Prize for his work in cell voltage. And he said most of us are running somewhere around -50 millivolts. But if you get down into the -35 millivolts, you're the person that gets all the colds and flus. -15 millivolts is usually what people are running that have chronic diseases like cancer and AIDS and things like that. So there's a lot of applications for this technology. In athletics, it actually increases athletic performance. There's rapid recovery from training and from injuries. We talked about the chakra tones a little bit. Chakra and ancient tones, there's another program in here that incorporates tones that are even older than any of the other frequencies that anybody has used before. And one of them, called Transformation of Miracles, it was actually heavily researched at Stanford and UCLA, and they found out that it regenerates DNA. So NASA actually puts it in all their cosmonaut suits. They use it for a lot of recovery from training, a lot of recovery from coming back from outer space, really enhancing your ability to meditate, get in the theta state, get your body centered, its ability to heal itself. There's programs in here that will kick you into the theta state, sometimes within 30 seconds, sometimes a minute. It's really, really powerful for that. And a lot of people have great difficulty meditating, great difficulty calming their mind, centering their body. Cellular voltage is super, super important because when you have healthy cells, you're creating more healthy cells. So you're constantly regenerating. Every 48 hours, you have new rods and cones in your eyes. Every 2 years, you have a new liver. Every 7 years, they say every cell in your body has been replaced. So if your cell voltage is low, you're replicating a low cell voltage or an unhealthy cell when it's subdivided. If you have healthy cells, you're getting healthier and healthier and younger as time goes by instead of the reverse. So really good for anti-aging. Veterinary medicine is really effective with that. Animals actually love this technology, which with the sounds and the vibration, you would think that may not be true, but it doesn't matter if it's reptiles or dogs or cats. They have amazing results with this, sometimes better than humans, because humans have this mental block sometimes against whether something will or will not work, whereas animals don't seem to have that. They know what's good for them instinctively. The scalar wave technology is really important. This is 0 point energy, and it's actually the fastest way besides the sonic whole body vibration to bring your cellular voltage up and get the body to heal itself. Lymphatic circulation. So your lymphatic system is probably the most neglected system in your body. And if you don't know much about it, it actually works like a vacuum cleaner. So parallels all your veins and arteries in your body. Some of your bigger vessels have up to 4 lymphatic vessels running beside them. They collect debris out of the bloodstream, constantly cleaning things up, but they don't have a pump like your heart. So they rely totally on muscle action and one-way valves to move the lymph through your body and detoxify. The problem with that is that a lot of people don't exercise. And this technology gets down into the 4, 5, and 6 hertz range. Getting in that low frequency range is the only time you get really effective lymphatic movement, because it allows the lymph to be thrown up, the one-way valve to close, and that to happen over and over, in addition to the muscle contraction. Mechanical machines don't get down into that lower range. Weight loss, it's great for weight loss. There are frequencies for lipolysis and cavitation that they use in non-invasive lipo, along with thyroid stimulation. It's all in one button. There's also frequencies for mood elevation, which are the right frequencies for depression and fatigue combined together. And there's stress relief, which increases your dopamine levels. So we did a study here. Actually, Carl had a big center here, a big court club. And I did a 1-month study just to see what would happen if I could elicit any results without dietary changes, which as a nutritionist and a naturopath, I always want to start with changing everybody's diet. But we brought in 71 people from the community, and we actually had them do 3 20-minute sessions a week, and that was it. And don't do any changes to their diet or exercise. And we took all of their measurements, comprehensive measurements, heart rate, blood pressure, did a sliding scale on sleep, on insomnia, on stress, fatigue, pain, all of that. Everybody improved all the way across the board. And one guy actually lost 21.8 pounds and 21 inches in that period of time. So it was a big aha moment for me because I'm all about diet. As far as brain balancing, our program in here is called TBSW. And Carl just learned about this today. TBSW is trilateral balanced sine wave, and it's the next step after binaural beats. So binaural beats, you have a tone for the left and right hemisphere. They found there's actually a tone for the base brain or the midbrain. And using that program with the scalar wave technology that's built into it, you just turn it on, is really phenomenal for not only balancing the brain, there's frequencies for things like Alzheimer's and tremors and mind expansion and all kinds of things in there. And I actually use TBSW every day. I pick something out of there and turn on scalar waves. The anti-aging aspect relates directly back to the health of the cells and creating healthier cells as you age. Pain relief, it's phenomenal for that. There's so many rife frequencies and TBSW frequencies for pain. Doesn't matter what kind it is. There's many, many, many. We actually have a pain management program, super easy to use. You just touch on the part of the body and it runs the frequencies for pain in that area. The mood elevation, again, is the frequencies for depression and fatigue, because you never know what comes first. Are you depressed because you're tired, or you're tired because you're depressed? We're kind of in a mental health tsunami where a lot of people went through so much discouragement that I actually have most patients use and most customers use mood elevation almost every day. So a lot of things that you can use this for. There's a lot of simple control panels in VibraGenix control. There's actually 6 panels. We're only showing you 4, but for wellness, this is the pain relief on the lower right. There's a full body program that goes through and it exercises each organ, each muscle group. It stimulates them all when it hits a certain frequency. And you can choose up to 5 things at a time. I don't do any more than that because it's like sections of an orchestra. I tell people you can boot up to 5 sections and still have harmony and effectiveness. If you go above that and you're doing 10 programs at once or whatever it is, you get too much wave interference and you actually lose effectiveness. It doesn't become dangerous. It just becomes less effective. This is some of the advanced frequency technology in the upper left. There's over 700 rife frequencies. There's chakra balancing, which I really love. This one has ethereal cleanse, so it's not just your physical body, but your emotional, mental, and spiritual body as well. So really, really effective. If you want to know what chronic condition, either mental, emotional, or physical, goes along with that energy center being blocked, you just touch on the chakra and it'll bring up the information beside it. There's an actual manual frequency generator if people want to put in their own frequencies. It is pre-programmed with very powerful detox. I would only run that once a week. This is the TBSW I was talking about, the ancient tones. You can play all of those together and count it as one panel. And then there's a step generator. We can give you a frequency formula that you can put in there that goes in steps. It starts at 147, goes up every 2 minutes, one frequency, until you get to 153, and it's really phenomenal for breaking down adhesions and scar tissue. So Dr. Fab Mancini is the one that was interviewing me. That's the little clip that you saw, and he's really phenomenal. I would really suggest you watch the podcast that we did yesterday. He's worked with vibration for a long time, but he has been completely blown away using this product. And he is very sincere, very well educated, 13 years as the president of Parker University and exposed to a lot of technologies out there. Dr. Jeffrey Tucker is amazing. He's been using this technology in his practice for about 3.5 years now. And he loves the versatility because they're so different. We're all so different. We have different conditions, and I always think about like the healing arts, it makes up this beautiful tapestry and there's golden threads of truth that work through all of it, but it's almost like it's beautiful tapestry and jigsaw puzzle pieces at the same time when it's complete. And we're all so different. That's the one thing that hit home when I was practicing is that one person would come in and they need, these 3 puzzle pieces, and somebody else would come in and they needed these 2. So I built this to be limitless in what it could do, but it doesn't mean you need to use everything in there. You just customize a program that works for you. Jay Campbell few of you know him. A lot of people call him the influencer's influencer. He is an amazing human being, the most physically optimized person I have ever met. So I was very curious when he got his machine, what kind of effect it would have. And we did a podcast yesterday, and he is blown away by the technology. It has, I mean, the changes I have seen in him, he's just become so much more centered, so much less reactive. On an energetic level, now he's becoming very optimized. He was physically optimized before, now all of it's coming together. And I'd like Carl to unmute himself and talk about his own story since he's on here.
Well, I was a little surprised about 7 months ago when I went in for my annual checkup and my PSA jumped to 4.8 from the mid twos. And my primary care doc says, hey, go get an MRI and find out what's going on. And found out that I had 3 tumors, the biggest one being 1.8 centimeters and then 2 small ones. And I said, man, do I want to do this? I looked at all the options, and all the options want to do biopsies and surgeries and or using high ultrasound, high intensity focused ultrasound. And I said, you know, I'm going to just use what I know. And I put on, I'd been watching this for a long time, what's going on in the world of prostate surgery and or prostate treatment, not just surgery. And I said, I'm going to find what supplements I should be taking that really help with the prostate. And I'm going to get on the VibraGenix. I'm going to run the prostate cancer frequencies, and I'm just going to do it every day, which I did. So 3 months later, my PSA dropped to 1 from 4.8, and the big tumor went from 1.8 to 1.5 centimeters, and the 2 smaller tumors no longer are there. And then about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I had my second follow-up at 3 months, and my PSA dropped even further to 0.78. The big tumor went down to 1.1. And again, the 2 smaller tumors are just not there. So I'm on active surveillance. I'm going to keep this up. I'm going to do it every 3 months for a year. And then I'm probably going to go out to 4 or 5, maybe 6 months after that. And I'm just going to keep, but I know that I have beat prostate cancer without any traditional treatment.
The other thing he did was he alkalinized his body. You must alkalinize your body if you have cancer. Cancer cannot live in an alkaline environment. And I've been through my own bout. You know, this is probably why I'm so big on clearing the energy field and clearing the chakras. So a lot of solar plexus, like constricted energy in me, and I ended up getting intestinal cancer. The big push for me, besides frequencies, was alkalinizing. And I went to the extreme because I had young kids, a single mom, and I juiced, did vegetables. I did a lot of gingers, the most alkalinizing food you can eat. You can use sodium, potassium bicarbonate together in water. And then I tested my urine pH every single day, and I kept it at 8 to 8.5, and cancer just can't live. It cannot live. It can't metastasize at 7.4, but if you push your urine pH up to 8, it doesn't stand a chance. So I did that in combination with the frequencies. And Carl did some alkalinizing as well.
Yes, I also did alkalinizing, used ginger root and all sorts of things. I was pretty already optimized on diet and those things. And if you scan that, that's my whole protocol that I was doing. You can scan that. We'll send you my complete protocol and everything I was doing and how to beat prostate cancer.
Yep. The other things with pH is no sugar, no alcohol, and no meat. They're very acidifying for the body. Has everybody got a chance to scan that? Okay. All right. So for people with businesses, how can you make money with this? So if you have a business and you have a corporate wellness program, for every dollar you invest in corporate wellness, you save 6 in insurance premiums, in sick pay, time off, low productiveness. So really important as an employer to have a good corporate wellness program. Employees actually perform better. We try to get people on the machines every day, get their energy levels up, their minds clear. Some people do cash pay. third-party reimbursement, there are 4 CPT codes that are commonly used. I just wanted to touch on that in case there was any business people in this podcast. Carl actually put this together. So if you got an elite machine, it would take you about 3 months with 25 clients, 3 times a week to pay it off, and you'd make about $100,000 in a year. So if you want to scan this QR code, it will take you to all of our information. You could actually take a picture of this, but you'll find the training platform where this will be. There's quite a few protocols. There's operations on how to make the programs work together, how to work them separately. And there's some actual exercise videos, and there's podcasts. So it'll get you to everything. All right, let's go back to where I can see everybody's beautiful face. There we go. Hey, John. So I have some questions that were already emailed in, and I'll go through those first. So the first one is there expected life for the VibraGenix machine? So I was involved with Turbosonic, from 20 years ago, and I still at trade shows will run into chiropractors that purchased a Turbosonic 20 years ago. They're still using it. So this is acoustic vibration. So imagine the life of your stereo system. I have a stereo system that's a really good one that's probably 25 years old that I invested in a long time ago. There's not a lot to break down. As far as maintenance, it does have linear bearings. It has a lot of real high use, like in a public location, probably every 2 years, I would take the top off and re-grease the linear bearings. And it's not complicated. It's really easy to do. It takes you about 15 minutes. I see Colette. Anyway, so I would do that. There is a warranty. It's a 2-year warranty. And after that, we will help walk you through anything, but you'll pay for parts. Let's see, 6-month return policy. Oh, wait, I'm skipping one here. After purchase with the machine needing software updates. We do occasionally do software updates. And if you go to the About page, there is a check for updates button, and we will send out an email, and you will click on that button. You make sure your machine's online. We usually keep them in airplane mode, but we'll have you sign onto your internet, and you hit check for updates, and it will automatically update, and there is no charge. Sometimes we change a few things to make it a little more user-friendly, but that's about it. So 6-month return policy, yes, there is that. So we don't get returns, which is a great thing. There is a 6-month return policy. If you wanted to test drive a machine for a couple of days, we can connect you with people closest to you, or you're welcome to come here and try out the machine, and then we'll, take a certain amount of money, $1,000 or whatever off of your machine if you decide to purchase. Beautiful wine country. If you like to drink wine, you can go on a wine tour. We can suggest places to stay. And if you're really nice, maybe you can stay with Carl or me. He has a really big house. But that's definitely an open possibility. So just let us know where you are, and we'll do our best to connect you. Okay. So the comprehensiveness of the machine. I have actually gotten this question before, because it seems overwhelming to a lot of people because there are so many possibilities. So in our training platform, I break it down into 10-minute segments and show people in video format exactly what to do. And they can go back and reference that anytime. And we're going to be adding more and more protocols as we get more and more questions. So if you have a specific issue, I can do a specific protocol and videotape it and send it to you. And if it's okay with you, I will put it on the training platform as well so that other people can benefit. Let's see, frequency chat. Yes, this is only the beginning. We're going to be having it twice a month on the first and third Tuesdays to start answering all the questions possible. It won't start with the same format. That's a one and done. That little slide presentation, that was just for background for people that didn't know too much about the technology. Okay, let's talk about trauma-related injuries and trauma-related problems. So the question was asked, if you had shoulder trauma, if you treated the shoulder itself, would the trauma disappear, or do you treat the trauma so the shoulder clears up? So here's what I do, what I always do. I always take, and this is actually addresses another question I've been asked in here. If you have somebody that has multiple conditions, or there are a symptom and a cause, I treat both at the same time. So I treat the most prominent symptom and the root cause. If you can figure out what the root cause is, and if there was a trauma, absolutely run the trauma frequencies, clear the energy centers and whatever related part of the body, and then treat the strongest symptom. And I do that consistently. This is not a one and done. So I have had people like run something one time and expect it to all be gone. That happens occasionally. If it's a trauma block, it will move and it seems like a true miracle. But usually for some people, it takes 3, 4, 5 sessions before something will majorly shift. And if you have something like Carl has, you're going to want to do something every day and stay on it. And the faster he had trouble alkalinizing his body, but the faster you can alkalinize your body, the more it works hand in hand with the frequencies to kick everything out. But does that answer that question closely enough for you? Okay, perfect. Put on my spectacles. There is a visual acuity frequency, and I did use that a few years ago and realized that I'm older than I thought I was. So I came up with this theory. It's God's way of letting us grow old gracefully because we still think we look all right and we still think our partner's hot. And I haven't run them since. But now that I'm having to use my glasses, like I'm 57, and the last 2 years, I can really tell that I need them more and more. So I probably should go back and do that and just face the mirror. So trauma, super, super, super important to clear. It really wreaks havoc in our system. So back to the prostate cancer and prostate issues. So there are a ton of men in their 50s and beyond that get prostate issues. And most of the time it's benign prostatic enlargement or hyperplasia. There are frequencies specific for that. And we have people using those that are sleeping through the night after getting up 3 to 5 times a night for an extended period of time. There's also frequencies for prostatitis and then specifically for prostate cancer. And I must actually slide this in somewhere. According to our FDA attorney, mine that I talked to years ago when I was putting this together, what we can say is this may help relieve the symptoms that are associated with those conditions. And that's what you can tell people, but it's not FDA approved to treat or cure. And if you just happen to get better, that's great. But that's what we can say because there are a lot of different conditions in here. Okay, so if there is another element going on with the prostate, treat that as well. So if there's different strains of strep, there's a lot of different strains of strep in this machine. I would use that as well. And there's cell exciters that you put right on that part of your body. You can write your name on them and drop them down your shorts, and those are yours forever. If you need some for the family, you can order a second set. At least that's what I recommended to Carl. Make sure you write your name on those.
I forgot how to spell my name. I'm too old, so it doesn't have my name on it.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I mean, prostate cancer and prostate problems are such a big issue. 80% of men over 80 get prostate cancer. Carl's dad died of metastatic prostate cancer. So him getting it was a real, alarm, right? He's taken this really, really seriously. And I'm really proud of him for taking this path because he was extraordinarily traditional medicine when I met him. He thought this was all woo-woo and everything else. And he did use it for recovery because he works out really hard. He still water skis, snow skis, works out at the gym, plays squish, very, very active and very, very young, 79-year-old. But as far as believing in the power of the frequencies, that has been an evolution over the last 12 years, 13 years, 14 years. It's taken him a while. But I think he's a believer now. Raise your hand. Yeah. All right. How about gut challenges? Okay. So there's a lot of different things that go on with the gut. Back to the energy frequencies, clearing out the chakras, making sure that solar plexus is really functioning. That's your main energy center that has to do with gut health. Other than that, there are a number of frequency panels. There's ones for colon problems. There's great frequencies for IBS, for constipation, for diarrhea. We have had amazing results, especially veterinarians, when it comes to IBS in animals. They had the first vet that tried this on an IBS dog had IBS for 7 years. And she treated the family's other dog for something else. And they said, this is driving us crazy. It lasts 2 or 3 days, 2 bouts a week. It's pretty much always cleaning up after this dog, but they loved it to death. And she's like, well, I don't know if it's going to work, but why don't you bring him in and see? And she treated with the IBS frequencies for 5 days, and it went away and it didn't come back. And then she had another friend that her son, 7-year-old, had a genetic anomaly and had a lot of diarrhea, and they had tried everything to get rid of it. And she put him on the diarrhea frequencies and the IBS together, and it stopped. So really effective for that. As far as constipation, there are constipation frequencies, but I have found, especially with women, if there's a lot of stress, there's a lot of constriction. The other major cause of constipation is allergies, because the intestinal tract can get swollen, and then it's hard to get the material through. So figuring out what the root cause is also a very important thing. So the symptom, be constipation, try to isolate the root cause, work them both together, and you've got a winner. Let's see, TMJ. Somebody just asked this, and I think I answered it by text, but I think I'm going to say it anyway. So you have those cell exciters. Can you grab some? There's some in this booth. They're not with every machine, but they come with every machine, just in our showroom. So these cell exciters are actually transducers that you put on a part of the body. And with TMJ, there can be various causes, but there's always inflammation. So I turn on inflammation. I would turn on trauma, because that can be a major cause. Stress relief, because a lot of people grinding their teeth will, or clenching down will get some TMJ. And then the other cause can be arthritis. So I would run the frequencies for joint pain. So this is what they look like. We designed them after a computer mouse. So they look like mice, but you can put them on whatever part of the body you're having issues with. So if you're having stomach problems, put them on your stomach. There are also, with stomach issues as well, there's a number of frequencies for candida and staph and all kinds of things that can go on in the gut. So there's a lot of things you can do. The closer you can isolate the root cause, the more effective this is going to be. What else do we have here? Okay, when someone first starts using, I skipped one. Best practice for helping someone with a specific cancer diagnosis. How often, how many minutes per session? So what I usually, if you can ideally get people in 3 times a week, that's great. 2 times a week is fine, but 3 times a week is more effective. If you have it in your home, I would use it every day for 20 minutes. I would just pick the specific. Rife came up with so many different frequency formulas. Actually, that's kind of how he made his mark, good and bad, with the FDA and the AMA. He actually had when he was in his research phase, and he built this ray tube with Tesla coils and can tune in different frequencies. He came up with the frequency formula for breast cancer. He had a doctor friend that worked in a sanitarium, gave him a nice fresh breast tumor that was removed. And he actually would take it, expose it to radiation, because radiation makes cancer very virulent. And he'd inject a little bit into the mammary duct of a lab rat, and it would grow really fast. And this is all black and white video that's still out there. And then he'd carefully remove it, and he'd take little pieces of it. And he isolated the breast cancer frequency formula so accurately that he could take these petri dishes with this fresh breast tumor up to 12-mile radius from his lab, dial in the frequencies, and it would kill them all. And the rat wouldn't have any more breast cancer. So he took that to the AMA, and they asked him to please stop researching. And then his lab got burned down. So it's kind of been like a suppressed kind of technology. People were afraid to talk about it for a long time, but it's now coming forward. There was a TED Talk I saw a few months ago, and it was a researcher showing live leukemia cells, turning on the leukemia frequencies, Rife frequencies, and in 3 minutes, it completely disintegrated the leukemia cells. So it takes longer in a human body than in a petri dish, but it is effective technology.
So Dr. Caroline, since we have 3 breast cancer frequencies listed in the list, how would you know? And do you do 20 minutes each time, 3 times a week? Okay.
Remember, you can do up to 5 things at a time.
Okay.
And there's also a cancer BX and BY. I actually program them into a single program because you can create your own custom programs, and I play those for everyone. BX and BY actually apply to different kinds of cancer, and they really help destabilize any of those cancer viruses. So I play those together with, and I do it. If you can do it 3 times a week, that's great.
20 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
That's what I would do if it was me. Let's see here. When someone first uses the VibraGenix, is it best to do 1 frequency at a time and add on as they increase? I don't do that. I actually found it more effective to create the right formula. So treating the root cause and the strongest symptoms. And people always have more than one thing. And I find that everybody that's chronically ill or dealing with something needs mood elevation. They need other things added in there. The ancient tones for rapid healing, DNA regeneration, you can add those in with the root cause and the strongest symptom. I just find they work better. It's kind of like sections of an orchestra. It just plays better together. The body reacts really well. Just don't go over 5.
And if somebody has a reaction, like I had somebody do recently, all I did was I did all the calming things, like you're saying, stress relief and mood elevation. And like, I think I did prostate enlargement, and he was sick for 2 days. Told me he was sick, couldn't get out of bed.
Okay. So here's a caveat. I probably should have stated this first. So it depends on the health of your patient.
Yeah.
If your patient is very, very, very toxic, right? People that have had chemo are very, very, very toxic. I start them out on 5 minutes. People that have a lot of chemical toxicity, start them out slow. The getting sick part is always detoxifying too fast. So having them drink lots of water and make sure that your client or patient is up for that. When I did the 1 month study, I did it twice actually at Carl's clinic or his sports club. I didn't build that in. Everybody that came in they were in different, most of them were sedentary, but some of them were active, but different states of health. But I had to keep my parameters the same, and everybody did fine with it, but they drank more water and they only came in 3 days a week. So they had 4 days off. So he might have something chemically going on.
Yeah, this was a couple that was like, they are like, consider themselves to be super healthy and blah, blah, blah.
Really?
So, and I did 15 minutes for him and did 15 minutes for her with allergy and, I don't know, mood elevation and scalar waves, something real simple. They were sick for 3 days.
Both of them?
Like, both of them.
Yeah, it may not have been related to using the machine. Because if people are really healthy and you put them on the machine, they don't get that kind of reaction. They might have just gotten sick.
Okay.
Timing. Impeccable timing. Yeah, I've done this for a long time. You just don't see that with people that are generally healthy. Okay.
Dr. Caroline, am I unmuted?
You're unmuted.
Good. Back to that cancer question on breast cancer. So would a person do breast cancer 1, 2, and 3 at the same time because you can do 5? Is that what you meant?
What I have done for people personally, people in my practice, is I have chosen like BXBY I put together, and I'll do possibly breast cancer 1. I do mood elevation and I do heart chakra, because heart chakra is in Chinese medicine is always related to breast cancer. So I clear that. I do DNA repair. And then the next time they come in, I just keep track. The next time they come in, I do BXBY, breast cancer 2.
Okay. Thanks.
Yep. But anybody that's chronically ill really needs mood elevation. It's very hard to have a positive outlook when you're struggling with something. So I always add that in. Okay, how do you approach a situation where someone has several conditions they wish to address? The way I choose is always the most acute symptoms and the underlying cause of that particular symptom. And always go like 5 sessions to address something completely, 5 to 7 sessions before you move on to something else. But I always start at the most acute and then work my way to the center. And a lot of that is just asking questions. For some people, you know, their waterfall of negativity that happened in their body started with an incident, a traumatic incident. It could be a car accident, could be a death in the family. I have heard the most amazing stories. And when you get back to that point and you know what kind of trauma you're trying to treat, it just, everything changes so much faster than if you treat. I'll just give you a quick example. I had a man that was in his 30s, had really bad tremors and shaky leg syndrome. Very hard for him to sleep. It's really disrupting his sleep. And he'd gone and they'd done sleep studies and they couldn't figure out anything to do for him. Tried different sedatives. Went to a medical history, because that's when you get, that's all the patients you ever get as a naturopath are people that have exhausted the medical system. And went back into his medical history. And when he was 8 years old, his dad kind of went crazy and grabbed a rifle. And he thought, he had 2 brothers, so it was the 3 little boys and his mom. And he thought he was shooting the gun. He thought everybody was going to get killed. He crawled under his bed. The cops found him in a fetal position under his bed. He doesn't remember anything but the first gunshots. But that trauma was stuck in his central nervous system. And as soon as we got that moved, everything went away. Everything went calm. So treating the symptom alone was not enough. There are frequencies for tremors, but getting back to the root of the problem and treating that is really essential for rapid healing. Is it okay to use scalar wave settings for each session, TBSW, just as a benefit? I recommend it because scalar waves create that 0 point energy that heals the body really fast, helps get your cellular voltage up, really, really potent. And I just shift between different programs in TBSW that I use, but I usually put them with almost every session. What else do we have here? The proper order in starting programs. I had this question a few times. Do I go in and start my TBSW or my True Resonance Pro frequencies, then go back and start auto? Do I boot everything up first and then go back and start auto? People used to do that and I thought it was fine. And then I learned that a lot of people weren't remembering to go back and start the auto program. So I told everybody, start your auto program and then go in and pick your 5 frequencies. Sure, the auto is going to time out first, maybe a minute, maybe 2 minutes before the rest of them, but at least you'll remember to get that full body sonic vibration, which is equally important to all of these. It's really moving your lymph. It's really exercising your muscles. It's stimulating all your organs. It's helping return your body to health. It is actually 2 different, completely different technologies that are very, very complementary, the frequency medicine and the sonic whole body vibration. So putting those together, not forgetting one or the other. And when you go to the other programs, I found out some people don't push start. You always have to push start on this Cell Tunes and True Resonance Pro, but it's actually easier than you think. Once you play with it for a little bit and watch a few of the training videos, the short training videos, and then we're always a resource for you. All right. So it looks like we might have other questions. Somebody's laughing.
Anyone on the call using machine in a business clinic?
Oh,
Experiences.
Okay. Lots of people using it in clinics. We went over Dr. Tucker. He's using it in clinics. It's been used in weight loss spas. Oh, there's a few of them. Weight loss spas, wellness centers, PT. It tends to take a PT program, and instead of it being 6 weeks long, they recover in 2. So the PTs either feel good or bad about that because they don't want to lose revenue. It's used in a lot of athletic programs for rapid recovery from training and injury and enhanced performance. Chiropractors, for sure, a lot of them in the chiropractic industry. There are a few. We have our first physician in a urgent care that has bought one. And he actually treated his nurse for tonsillitis instead of writing her a prescription. He's like, I don't know if this stuff works, but let's just try it. So he took the cell exciters, put on tonsillitis, and it was gone by the next day, which antibiotics don't work that fast. So that was a plus. We have people using it with stem cell work, getting the body all cleaned up and amping everything up, kind of clean up, amp up, get the cellular voltage up before they do that for about a week before they do the stem cell work, and then continuing it afterwards, and they're getting much better results. Mary, you can give us your experience.
Well, everything, all of the clients that I have that have used it, have experienced really good results. One of them was a massage therapist who just was working on somebody one day, and all of a sudden her shoulder just seized up on her. I had just gotten the machine like that week, and she said, let me come over and give it a try. So after the first session, she did 15 minutes, I think, and she was about 75% better. And the next day she came back and did another session, and the next day another one. But she said by the second day, the pain was completely gone and has not come back, whatever seized up in her shoulder. So that was a really good thing. My biggest concern, I mean, everyone else has had great results. I did have a girl, let me ask you this, who had traumatic brain injury. Something in a store fell on her head, and she's been recovering from that concussion for several months. And I did some real gentle settings on her and did head injury follow-up. And she said, Mary, I felt like I had been run over. Like it took her over a week to get over that. The other girl that I mentioned earlier that said she was so sick, she's also had brain surgery years ago.
Okay, so I would definitely, with any brain trauma, definitely do the energy centers and run trauma.
Okay.
I start moving the trauma out first before I stimulate like the root of the problem.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. But all of my clients have really liked it. And I've got another fellow that has had real serious blood. I think I told you about this, mold poisoning in his blood. They said they can't seem to get it cleared up. I started using it on him. He felt better originally, and then said he started feeling really strange and brain fog, but he's also got really bad leaky gut.
Yeah.
And probably leaky brain too. But anyway, I'm not a doctor and I don't diagnose. But still, like, I haven't done the clearing the energy centers at all. So that's something I probably need to look at.
Yeah. I think I'm a huge believer in the bridge between Western traditional or naturopathic and Eastern medicine. I think they're really important components. And I don't rule out Western medicine at all. If I'm in a car accident, I'm going to ER.
Yeah.
I think they've got that dialed, and there's a time and a place for everything, for sure. But leaving out the Eastern component, I think, is a big mistake. It just is so synergistic with this whole system.
Yeah. And in the area that I'm in, like it's lots of Christians, and they're not most Christians are not sure if they really want to go there.
Yeah.
So it's something I'm learning to try to figure out.
What you can do with them is at least start them on the ancient tones. They'll see King Solomon's healing frequency, and that will help. Transformations and miracles, release of guilt and fear. Usually people, even in traditional religion, can wrap their head around the ancient tones. So I would definitely start there.
I see. Okay.
Maybe we can sneak the chakra opening, balancing somewhere else on a panel behind.
Dr. Caroline.
Yes.
We have just a couple minutes. Would there be one that you'd be willing to tell that story about Jim and what he went through?
Would I be willing to tell it?
Yeah.
Sure. It's actually kind of interesting. So he lives not too far from here. We'd sold a machine to a lady that she had a lot of trauma. She should have died from a car accident. She had an amazing amount of scar tissue and adhesions and a lot of other problems. And she got the elite and she put it in her home, and she's been sharing it with different people from time to time. And Jim was really unique. He was pretty severe diabetic, and his feet were black. And on scans, the bones were rotting, and they wanted to amputate his feet. He decided not to go to that direction. He started using her machine probably 3 months ago, and he was using it only twice a week. But I need to have a little training with her because he brought me his protocol list, and there's like 13 different frequencies she was playing at the same time. So, but it still was helping. It's like the sonic whole body vibration was helping. It was still helping him feel better. And he said 25 pounds just dropped off. His blood sugar is stabilized. And he came in here only because they were going on vacation. He was kind of panicked not to be on the machine for a week. And I looked at his frequency formulas. I picked the most acute symptom and the basic cause, and we treated those, and we only did 5. And he said that 120-minute session was more powerful than all the other ones put together. And he's come in 4 times now. He still has one foot, the toes are kind of curled because, getting atrophy when you have everything start dying off, but the skin color's good. Like I said, his blood sugar is good. He's still dropping in weight and is excited about it. It's kind of it gives him hope. Hope it's a huge thing when you're facing something really terrible like that. I mean, there's not much of an option there. If somebody amputate your feet, you're going to be crippled for the rest of your life. So it's given him kind of a new lease on life. He's making plans to travel. So he's looking at the travel unit because you can't leave your machine.
Yep.
Yep.
Get the portable.
We have lots and lots of stories. We've had a couple of people, actually 4 people that have had kidney stones, and it's 10 grand to go in and get them shattered at the hospital. But they got scans before they came home with a little screen. We ran the kidney stone frequencies, 2 20-minute sessions. Another person has done it in 1 20-minute session. I've never done it in less than 2, but it's completely shattered the kidney stones to the point where you can't even catch them in a screen. So with the ankle sprains, things like that for athletes, for anybody, human beings, if you sprain your ankle, it is so hard to heal an ankle sprain if you have to be ambulatory. If you can sit at home with your foot up and iced and do the beamer or whatever else, you can heal more quickly, but it usually takes about 4 sessions with ankle sprains. And Carl has a little formula he put together that he can get people out of an extreme back spasm in 40 minutes. He does a stretching and then the machine and can resolve it that quickly. I don't know. We just have lots and lots and lots of stories, things that excite me, and people that, especially if they're really, really sick, it is such a miraculous change in such a short period of time. They feel so much different because their cell voltage was so low and it starts coming up, and they feel like they have hope. They have a new lease on life. Body's starting to heal itself. And that's really the magic behind a lot of this. You can use frequencies to help destabilize and shatter different things. But the real magic behind this is its ability to get your cell voltage up so that your body spontaneously heals, because that's what we were created to do. That's how we're made. All right. Any other questions? I think we've hit an hour. I think we're good.
Dr.
Any other
Stites?
questions? Yes.
Hi, this is Brian. I'm actually the provider that you talked about with the tonsillitis in my ear.
Oh, nice. Welcome. I can't see you.
Well, it's okay. I'm in a dark room and it's, you don't want to see me anyway.
That's okay. The only other story you told me was about the lady that had the shunts.
Shunts?
Yeah, she had shunts, and you text me to see if she can get on the machine. She had shunts.
Oh, yes, that's true. I actually didn't end up treating that woman, but I have had some interesting, experiences. A couple of weeks ago, a young woman was in the clinic and hysterical, crying, going on about all of these events in her childhood and her life, causing, she was diagnosed with PTSD and she said basically every psychological issue that you can think of. And I did a combination of putting her in the red light bed and then on the VibraGenix. And she came out and she said, well, I'm calmer, and I said, come tomorrow and we'll do this. And, I actually did it for free because she was so freaked out. I just wanted to help her in any way I could. The second day she came in, we did it again. She said she feels really good and she's excited about this. The third time she came in, she looked completely different. She was, she looked well put together. And she said, I'm so happy about this. She's like, I don't understand why more people don't know this. She's like, if this is how regular people feel, then I want to feel like this every day. And so it's been great. My question is related to, wait a minute, did I forget my question already? Well,
It was such a good story.
well, I have a lot of good stories. Even, oh yes, migraines.
Yes.
I've done migraines 4 times, not using the bed, just with the VibraGenix. And each time within an hour, the people call me back and say, I can't believe it, but my headache is gone. And I had a patient yesterday. I was at Costco. I met him. We did something else, his knee, and his knee is feeling great. But he said his wife has had migraine headaches her entire life. And he was wondering if he needs to wait for her to have a migraine to bring her in, or if we can do something preemptively to prevent her from getting migraines.
Absolutely. So I've had people with migraines that I've been able to interrupt it within about 30 seconds to a minute. And that's running the migraine frequencies. I've run them out of, there's in TBSW with the scalar waves, turned that on and done all of the ancient tones and all of the chakras. And within 30 seconds to a minute, it's just gone. It's like it just does something to their energy field. The toughest patient I ever had was somebody that had migraines for 40 years. And that took digging into, it wasn't just the frequencies that did help interrupt, but there was a deeper root cause. She only had one kidney, and she didn't sweat when she exercised or did anything. So as far as elimination of toxins, that was a very difficult thing for her. And diet. There was MSG triggers in her diet, excitotoxins. So having to get that out and then using the frequencies. But she was having 2 of them a week and they were lasting 2 to 3 days. So she was pretty much always in pain. But getting on the machine, reading the migraine frequencies really makes a difference. You might be able to interrupt it a little faster, adding in the others.
Actually, yeah, I'm glad I came to this because I've never run the TBSW and I only recently found the migraine. I was just using headaches from the regular side. So I have a lot of deep diving to do.
Well, we're building a bigger and bigger training platform, getting more and more specific. So I would think you have access to that. We can make sure you have access to that.
All right. Well, thank you.
Yep. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else?
Caroline, the next time you have, who can we invite people to come to these
Absolutely.
programs?
Absolutely.
Well, once again, Dr. Caroline, we've got these planned for the first and third Tuesdays. So please continue to submit questions. Anybody's invited. Email me their addresses. We can send the link or send them forward the link for this one. And we'll continue doing these about every 2-3 weeks. That works out to be. Yeah.
And the format is, this is all for you guys. It's all for you guys. Anything I can help anybody with. It's just, I was getting more and more and more texts and emails on, what do I do about this? What do I do about that? And I thought, okay, I need a central place where people can come and ask questions and everybody can learn at the same time.
Yeah, I was just going to point out that I just got an email from Joey and now he's on the call. He's never even been on the machine yet, but I bet he's pretty excited to get on one real quick.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you.
Are we going to have the recording sent to us?
Yeah. Well, we can send it to you and we're going to put it on the training platform as well.
Oh, you're going to put it on the training platform.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah. And definitely watch the one. There's 2 new ones out. One with Dr. Fab Mancini and one with Jay Campbell. They're both pretty interesting. They were very free flow. Sometimes that's the best kind.
What setting for rib lining?
Rib lining. Can you explain further
what
you're referring to?
Rib. Yeah.
So is there cartilage damage?
It's from Joe. Joe.
Okay. So isolating the cause, we could have a deeper conversation about it, but the big thing is trying to figure out what the cause, if there was a trauma, if there was an infection, or whatever it is that started the pain or the problem in the first place, we go after that. I also, just to touch briefly on this, I think it's really, really important to go back after childhood diseases. And the reason this has become more important and come to the forefront isn't just because things I've noticed before, like papillomavirus, if kids have warts, papillomavirus causes that. Well, as you get older, especially in girls, it can become cervical cancer, that kind of thing. It's good to go back and clean that up because all of us get these diseases as we go through life, and our immune system might get it back into a corner, immune system soldiers. But a lot of those diseases will go into remission. And the way viruses go into remission is they sink their little phalanges, their little legs into a bacteria, and that keeps them stabilized until something changes. Either your pH changes, which happens with a lot of things. The pH changes, or there's a magnetic shift and they become active again, or your immune system goes down. And then that will come forward. And I've seen this so much since coronavirus and since people getting vaccinated. They're called spike proteins that are produced. They're very large with the vaccine. And these spike proteins are initiating latent disease. They're reactivating diseases that people think they have licked, whether it's a certain kind of cancer or whatever. It starts becoming active again in the system. The same thing happens with people that have had coronavirus, but the proteins aren't as big, the spike proteins. So I think it's really important now more than ever is to get a good medical history and give people the option of, if you had strep a lot, if you had whatever a lot when you were younger, go back and knock that out. Just spend 5 consecutive days knocking stuff out. I call it the cleanup.
There we go. Sorry, I'm trying to do this from my cell phone and drive and everything else.
I noticed that.
It's been busy. So my question really is in regard to, let's say somebody is wanting to treat something proactively or preventatively. So let's say they're concerned about breast cancer, it runs in their family. Would you just have them work on general cell health, or would you actually have them do breast cancer formulas?
So
with the idea that it would be proactive.
Right. So what I do for prevention kind of things is I'll run the BX and BY, because those are the basic cancer frequencies that there's a lot of mutations of cancer that show up in different parts of the body. BX and BY, I put them together, I run them together, and just make sure there's a preventative aspect. If somebody has a genetic propensity, or their mom had, or their dad had, or a lot of people in their family had a certain thing, I would definitely run it just for prevention, maybe once a week.
Okay, where are you finding BX and BY? I don't recall seeing that on the.
They're in the cancer frequencies in Pro.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
And you can actually put them in the same panel. There's only, I think, 3 frequencies each.
Okay.
I will make a video on how to do that. I'm going to make a video for the frequencies in the step generator that break down scar tissue as well.
I'd like to see one on brain health too, like general brain health.
Okay. Sure.
Great. Thanks.
You're welcome. Anything else?
No, I got to figure out how to unraise my hand.
Yeah. I can't help you there. That's why I have MJ.
I do have one further question, because I have a patient coming in from Fresno after July 4th, and it's for Parkinson's.
Okay.
And I wanted to know, do you have any suggestions, any formulas for treating Parkinson's?
Yes, they're in True Resonance Pro. There are frequencies for Parkinson's disease, and there are frequencies for Parkinson's related tremors. I would do both.
Got it. Thank you.
Yes. You still have your hand up, Colette. Do you have another question?
No, I'm trying to. Do you have one for increase my intelligence to do this?
You're one of the smartest women I know. I think you're good there. It's just the tech part. I'm right there with you. Maybe it's the age. I don't know.
Hey, Brian, I just want to say something about Parkinson's. At our Pacific clinic, we treat lots of Parkinson's patients, and this is one of the primary vehicles that we use is the VibraGenix. And we're working with UCSD in their neurology department down there. And you're not in a farming community like we are. So a lot of ours are due to the herbicides and pesticides, but it can be due to lots of other things too. So it's really important to work through that. And we'd be glad to help you, address these kind of patients, because we're seeing them, a lot of them in our Pacific clinic, which was the big health club. We have a huge clinic up here we treat brain kind of problems primarily.
I will reach out to you for that. And then you bringing that point up, it makes me wonder, what is his environment like? I know he's in Fresno, and I'm not that familiar with Fresno, but
Right.
Well, that's a farming
Yeah.
community.
So you're going to want to do chemical detox with that, Brian.
okay. Thank you,
Yep.
guys.
Another really, I mean, you have a clinic, so maybe you have a oxygen concentrator. Doing oxygen while you're on this machine is phenomenal. You heal so much faster. You're flooding every cell, 100 trillion cells in your body at the same time with oxygen. They just heal so much faster because you've got that cell voltage up. Cells push away from each other. A lot more surface area bringing oxygen.
Oh, I didn't think about that. I do ozone, but I didn't think about using oxygen while on the device. Okay.
Yeah, definitely. That is the best time to use it for sure.
Okay. Thank you.
There's
All right.
Dr. Caroline, can you answer that last question from Joanne? Can you see it or do you want me to read it?
Yeah. So I thought I had written you a response on this. So that's something rare enough. I would use the frequency formula that we're going to just record in the step generator that goes from 147 to 153 and start breaking that up, because it's going to affect a lot of things. We did email back and forth or text back and forth about this, I believe. And didn't we? I'm pretty sure. And treating the other symptoms. So any of the other symptoms that are going along with the condition, but definitely treating that scar tissue formation. Is there regarding to how often?
She says she's using that and that she doesn't know if she got the email. So Joanne, if you can just email me at info@vibrogenics.com and we'll
He'll make
certainly
sure.
follow up and get that to you.
Lymphatic detox. So it all depends on how toxic the person is. It's back to that kind of analyzing the state of the person. So lymphatic detox for most people, once or twice a week is plenty. People with lymphedema, which lymphedema has become a bigger and bigger thing. And people don't realize that, like, if your lymphatic vessels get really congested and they expand, that lymph starts leaking into the tissues, and that's where you get all the swelling and the lymphedema. This is phenomenal for lymphedema, just phenomenal for getting everything moving, getting those tissues, all the stagnant fluid in the tissues moved. We've had people that have had to go and get lymph drainage, manual lymph drainage every week. They didn't have to anymore once they got on this, and everything just kind of shrunk back down to its normal size. But if you're really, really toxic, you want to take it a little bit slower. Let's see. I'll do that. Barefoot walking, yoga day, International Yoga Day. Okay, anything else?
I think that's it.
Until next time. And if you have any suggestions for anything else, any different format or anything you want, just like a presentation for newer people, and we can do that at the same time or at a different time. I'm just feeling this out to see what works best and gives you the most value. That's all I'm here for, is to serve you. So whatever you need, please reach out and let us know, and I will do my best to provide it.